The regular season hasn't even started for the New York Jets, and their offensive line, one of the most talked about positions all offseason long, already has lost a significant piece with offensive guard Alijah Vera-Tucker dealing with a season-ending triceps injury. What does this mean for New York? What does this mean for the rotation of their offensive line? We'll talk about that and much more, all coming up here on a Wednesday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk.
J-E-T-S, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer and Jets legend Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Law.
You are listening to NY Flight Jets Talk. Here's your host, Connor Long.
Yes, you are indeed listening to NY Flight Jets Talk, baby, streaming live right here on YouTube and Twitter. Make sure you drop down below, smash that like button, hit subscribe. That's the free way to support the show. Keeps the show going, and it really does go a long way. Questions, comments, thoughts, load all of those up in the chat for us to get into. You guys call into the show with the link at the top of the video description, which is right below the like button and the subscribe button. Plus, don't forget about the paid way to help us grow. You can get into our membership raffle. Every $2 Super Chat gift in membership gives you an opportunity to win a Sauce Gardner signed jersey, a Garrett Wilson signed helmet, a Wayne Corbett signed jersey, a Nick Mangold signed jersey, a CJ Mosley signed jersey, a Bart Scott signed photo, a Don Maynard signed photo, and then, of course, the front page of the New York Daily News following the Jets' 1969 Super Bowl victory. That, of course, coming in a frame. Again, every $2 Super Chat gift and membership gives you an entry. I'm your host, Connor Long, right here with you guys on NY Flight Jets Talk. Make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe because, folks, that is the free way to support the show. Again, we want you to interact. We want to get your thoughts. We want to engage with you guys. So, two ways you can engage with us. You can get out live with us right here on screen by calling into the show with the link at the top of the description down below. Or you could just fire everything, all of your thoughts, questions, your comments in the chat, in the live chat for those watching live right here on YouTube. And we will certainly indulge in those. GreenBean, Jets content creator, was scheduled to join us. I spoke to Bean the other day confirming that he was going to come on the show. I have not heard anything from him tonight. So GreenBean's appearance on the show, I'll say, for those watching live, is TBD, as I have not heard from him tonight. But if he does join the link that I texted him, we will pull him up at any point throughout the show. But nevertheless, the show continues to grow on. And as we sit here, just days away, just 4 days away. It is 4 days away. That's crazy to think, folks. 4 days away from the Jets' Week 1 matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Opening night, opening day, really, it being a 1 o'clock game. All the storylines, all the expectations, all the hype, everything's going great. It's game week, baby. We're talking about this team. We're talking about keys to victory, how this team is going to shut down Aaron Rodgers, and not in a joint practice, not in a preseason game, not in a physical training camp practice, but on a Wednesday ahead of the team's opening matchup against the Steelers, New York Jets offensive guard Alijah Vera-Tucker has torn his triceps. What a joke. A season-ending torn tricep injury is the official designation for Alijah Vera-Tucker. This is the first time he's dealt with a torn tricep injury. He's dealt with a ton of injuries since he was drafted by this team in the first round, traded up for him in 2021. But this is the same injury that he dealt with in 2022 during the Broncos game in Week 7 that left him sidelined for the remainder of the season. The report coming out from Adam Schefter confirms that he's getting a second look at this injury to confirm or deny whether he needs surgery or not. So this is not the news that Jet fans want to hear in game week. This is not the news that anyone wants to hear in game week. The offensive line. That's what's been talked about so much with this Jets team, given the highly touted assets they've allocated towards building this line. Vera-Tucker, a first-round pick. John Simpson, a free agent addition. Armand Membu at the tackle position, 7th overall pick in this year's draft. Olufashinu, 11th overall pick in last year's draft. Joe Tippmann, center/guard. We'll get into where he's going to play, how this affects him later on in the show. A high 2nd round pick. This offensive line is built upon talent. These guys have high draft pedigree. And it's what we're talking about all season long. We were talking about if the Jets, were in position to go to the playoffs, it would be because of the offensive line. And look, Alijah Vera-Tucker is certainly a valuable piece of that line. This does not change my win total for the team. Yes, it's unfortunate to see him go down because last year, of course, when the team won 5 games and were unwatchable, he stayed healthy. The meaningless year where it's thrown down the drain. You have all the hope, you have all the hope, you have all the hype. You win 5 games thrown down the drain. Of course, that year he's healthy. Plays in 15 games and the team wins 5 games. But nope. The year with a mobile quarterback, the year where all the hype is on the offensive line, he tore his triceps on a Wednesday of game week. Look, you got to feel for AVT. He's entering a contract year. It would have been only more Jet-like if they've just given him a contract and he suffers this injury. So I feel bad for the guy. I don't think he plays another snap as a Jet. This certainly hurts, and affects what he's going to get paid on a next contract when you look at a significant injury like this. He played 916 snaps last season, all at right guard. Very, very solid season. 77.7 overall grade from PFF's 15th among guards in the league. Not only did you just lose your guard, you most likely have to shuffle around the entire offensive line now. The way I draw it up, the way I anticipate the Jets will shuffle it up is I think Josh Myers is the starting center and Joe Tippmann swings out to guard, the position that really the Jets drafted him to play initially, the position that earned him a 2nd-round draft pedigree coming out of the University of Wisconsin. I think Joe Tippmann plays right guard. But by the way, when you saw him play guard in the preseason, he was playing left guard. So that's still an adjustment. And this injury is going to hurt the Jets. You can make a case that Vera-Tucker is the most valuable offensive lineman on this team. You could certainly make a case for that, undoubtedly so. And it affects the Jets. It hurts them. One thing I will note is you watch the preseason games, a lot of design runs right between Membu and AVT. It's going to be more like Joe Tippmann and Armand Membu now. So look, you're going to have to shuffle it up. I will say the biggest issue that the Jets are hurt in right now with Alijah Vera-Tucker being out for the season is the run blocking. Excuse me. Because Josh Myers will come in at center. Josh Myers, I think, is one of the 32 best centers in the league. I will say that. I think he's one of the 32 best centers in the NFL. Do I want him starting for me? Absolutely not. However, that said about Josh Myers, he's a better snapper than Joe Tippmann is. He's just good in pass protection, but his run blocking is the major issue. And that's where the Jets take a step back. They're not going to have their true center, and they're going to take a step back run blocking wise. I don't think this affects the Jets, as most fans are making it out to be. Like, I don't think this doesn't change my Jets win total. I love AVT again. Love the guy, one of my favorite Jets. This doesn't affect my win total for the team. Sure, it could affect maybe where they rank in overall offensive line, but this doesn't change my opinion on how many games I see this team winning, the running back success. It's just unfortunate, and at the same time, it's on probably a non-contact practice on a Wednesday ahead of the team's week 1 matchup. Look, if it happened in the joint practice, we'd be complaining. If it happened in the preseason, we'd be complaining. If it happened during training camp, we'd be complaining. Absolutely, I'm not denying that fact whatsoever. But the funniest, not even the funniest, the craziest part of this is it happened in a practice during game week. It's not even like it's a physical practice, not even like it's a game, preseason game. An injury is an injury, but that's the craziest part to me. It happened on a Wednesday. Actually, no, it happened yesterday. Excuse me. That's the report that I heard yesterday. It happened yesterday. But still, media was at practice yesterday. We saw nothing from media. And now, yeah, I see the tweet from Diana Rossini. I just had a second thought there. Yeah, it happened yesterday. But still, media was there. No coverage. We didn't hear anything about it. All we heard was from Diana Rossini, random tweet in the middle of my geometry class today that says he could have suffered a serious injury. There was no reporting on this, and it was the day the Jets didn't have to start releasing injury reports until today, and they did just that today. And AVT was, of course, on that injury report. Weird stuff, Jet fans. Thank you all for joining us right here on NY Flight Jets Talk. Smash that like button and hit subscribe. It is completely free and helps the channel grow a ton. Questions, comments, thoughts, load all of those up in the chat column of the show with the pin link at the description, in the top of the description. Super chats will come up here on the show immediately. Every $2 super chat gift and membership get you a raffle entry. And our guy, Charles Gorman, wants in on the raffle, baby. He drops a $5 super chat.
My name is Chris Brasso and I love the Jets more than everyone else. I am a highlight warrior. Aaron Glenn is the best coach they could have. Hired, but under 4 games won and he must be fired. I love every 2026 QB just based on highlights. I have watched 5 minutes of Nico's highlights and he is a Hall of Fame. Arm strength is all that matters. This isn't the same old Jets. THE 2025 Jets are different. Justin Fields is the franchise guy, or Nico will be drafted in 26. Highlights are all that matter.
Shout out to you, Charles. Thank you so much for the support as always. Shout out to all you guys again. Every $2 super chat, every gifted membership. Get you an entry, questions, comments, thoughts. We're going to get to that Q&A style for the rest of the show. So fire all your thoughts, fire all your concerns, your comments, your questions in the chat, and we'll get to those. Shout out to you, Charles. Nevertheless, you're the best. Says, hi, Connor. Hope all is well. Likewise. Are you excited to go to school tomorrow or no? Well, Charles, I started school yesterday. I'm used to it. School's actually been fine. First 2 days are typically easy, but first few days of high school are good. You get kind of more freedom. You get more free periods built into your schedule, which is fun. And kind of just seeing my friends, because I didn't see a ton of my friends from school over the summer. So it's cool to be able to, chop it up with them and get back seeing them every single day. So look, it's fun. I'm sure it'll become grueling at some point over the next month or two. But for now, I'm enjoying it. No complaints from me, Charles. And you guys know I'm honest about school here on the show. Thank you all for joining us. Connor Long right here with you guys on the show. Questions, comments, thoughts in the chat, calling to the show. Pin comment at the top of the description. We're going to get to your calls in a little. Shout out to all you guys joining us right here on this beautiful Wednesday evening. Now we'll indulge into the chat a little bit again. Load everything up in the chat. We'll get to that. Eddie in the building. Shout out to you, Eddie. Says, I don't care, but I'm going to say it. Why are we practicing full contact 4 days before a game? Look, I don't even know if it was full contact. This whole thing, all I can report on, all I can talk about right now is the injury and how it affects the Jets. That's all I can say right now. I don't have the answer to any questions surrounding how did it happen, where did it happen, when did it happen, how competitive was it? I wasn't at practice yesterday. I didn't see anything, and frankly, it looks like the reporters didn't see anything either. So, and I'm scrolling on Antoine Staley, friend of the show's Twitter page yesterday. He was on the show yesterday. We heard nothing about an AVT injury. I'm looking at a video right now. Look, it looks like they're they have shoulder pads on in like a wide receiver drill. It doesn't look like they have full pads on, but I mean, training camp is over, folks. I know Aaron Glenn always talks about how, well, injuries were a part of the game, blah, 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 blah. We're going to play physical, but it gets to a point where it's like, we're on September. It was September 2nd yesterday. And I'm not reporting or claiming that the Jets had a physical practice. I wasn't there. I can't report on anything that happened because, frankly, for full transparency, I have no idea what happened, because when the regular season practice comes around, the media doesn't really report as much as they would on a typical training camp practice. But it had to have been individuals. It had to have been one-on-one. These teams do not run, and I can tell you this firsthand, these teams do not run team drills in game week. So it had to have been individuals working with the offensive line, or it had to have been in one-on-ones. That's the only way it could have happened. And look, it could have been something where it's a complete fluke. I get that, but if we do see a report where the Jets are going full contact, again, I love AG going for full throttle. I love him pushing the guys in training camp, but it gets to a point where you can't put star players on the line and lose guys for the whole season because you want to have a competitive practice during game week. Don't get it. Momo in the building. Shout out to you, Momo. Good to see you. Appreciate you tuning in, as always, here on the channel. Look, it's disappointing for sure. That was my reaction when I saw the news. I've been able to digest it a little bit, break it down. it hurts the Jets, certainly. You feel for AVT, a guy who's entering a contract year. This is never what you want to see happen to a player who's entering the final year of their current deal. But what I will say, Momo, is I don't think it affects the Jets as much as most people think. I really, really don't. I Slip Jet fan in the building. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. Michael says Tippmann at guard. I don't know if you caught what I said earlier, Michael, but what I think the Jets are going to do, I think Tippmann's going to move to right guard. Josh Myers will slide in at center. Look, you get an upgrade in some facets at center with Myers. He's a slightly worse pass blocker, but he's a better snapper. Has that chemistry, has that rapport with Justin Fields from when they were in college. The only area where you're going to see a dip off missing Alijah Vera-Tucker is the run blocking. And I know it's an issue because this team is going to run the crap out of the ball. That's what their offense is going to be predicated on, running the football. So, look, his loss will be felt. But I think if the Jets are 5-2 in week 7, which I'm not saying will happen, I think if that's the case and the offensive line isn't a complete liability, no one will be asking about AVT. But then on the flip side, if the Jets are 2-5 and Justin Fields getting sacked 6 times a game, then we'll hear his name called. I just think it's a matter of how the rest of the offensive line holds up and how the next man up mentality truly treats this team. That's what I will say. That's what I will say, folks. Shout out to everyone joining us right here on this Wednesday evening. Again, questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. Call into the show with the pinned link at the description. Nathan in the building. Shout out to you, Nathan. Good to see you, my friend. Just kind of, if you had to rank the 3 most important players to the Jets offense that you would not want injured, who would they be? For me, it's 1 Garrett, 2 Fields, 3 AVT. Great question, my friend. 1 is certainly Garrett because you have no passing attack without Garrett. You literally cannot afford to lose Garrett Wilson for a single football game this season. So Garrett for me at 1, clear cut. Fields is not in my top 3. I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I like Fields. I think Tyrod Taylor, when you talk about the creme de la creme of backup quarterbacks, he's atop that list right away. I think he's the most consistent, steady backup in all of football, if you ask me. So you can go 4 or 5 games with missing Fields, in my opinion, because I think you have that surefire guy. And Taylor, look, if Nathan Peterman, if CJ Beathard were the backup quarterbacks, then I'd probably say Fields. But I just think knowing that you have a plan with Tyrod behind Fields, that kind of softens the blow a little bit should the Jets miss Fields for a few weeks. And number 3, look, I would say a running back, but they have so many running backs too. It's like Breece Hall still coming off a down year, so one could say, what's even the point of it's okay to lose him, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to say a running back. I'll say Mason Taylor. Because then you have no blocking tight ends who have NFL. You have no Taylor doesn't blocking experience. Excuse me. You don't have any tight ends who are capable of being league average blockers. Stone Smart's a big wide receiver. Jelani Woods, he's 6'7", so he's way more than just a big wide receiver. But he is not known for his blocking ability. Jeremy Ruckert, we could just laugh that off, and then you have the fullback in Andrew Beck. So I'd say 1 Garrett, 2. Who did I say it to? 2 Mason Taylor, and then 3. I didn't do 3 yet. That was it. I might move Taylor to 3. I'm just trying. Let me pull up the offensive depth chart here quickly. I may be missing an obvious one. I'm just going to pull up the offensive depth chart here quickly to make sure that I am not missing anyone obvious who should be on the list. Well, there's a good chance because I don't have the depth chart up right now. Let me see. No, I wasn't missing anyone obvious, actually. This last one's going to be tough. I'll say Armand Membu. I'll put Membu at 2 and then Taylor at 3. Membu at 2 because then your whole right side's depleted. Now with AVT down, you lose Membu, your 2 starters on the right side. You felt so comfortable, running the football on that side of the field, predicating the run game on the right side. That would deplete that game plan, losing Membu, and you'd put Xavier Newman in there, Cole Laval, Esapole. Like, it wouldn't be looking Chikwumo Okorafor. Like, it wouldn't be looking pretty if you lost Armand Membu. You took him in the 7th pick, too, so I'll say those 3 guys. You can't lose them. Cannot lose him. Alex, let's get Antoine in here, please. We didn't have him on last night. Antoine would be on the show. I'll tell you that right now. Shout out to you, Alex. But nevertheless, thank you for tuning in. 160 guys in the building, so make sure you drop below, smash the like button, hit subscribe again. Keep all your thoughts coming to the chat. Call into the show with the pinned link at the top of the description. We'll go over to the phone lines. First up here on the show today is Charles Gorman, baby, joining us now. Charles, how are you doing?
Hey Connor, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, I assumed you started tomorrow because here in New Jersey we
Yep.
start tomorrow in school.
Uh-huh.
I actually, believe it or not, just did a video a few minutes ago. I was discussing my thoughts in the situation where after we lost Alijah Vera-Tucker. So we still have to be strong. We still have to be strong. I know it hasn't been easy being optimistic as Jets fans these past 15 years. We haven't made the playoffs since 2010, which obviously was a bit before your time. So, no, we'll see. Nothing's really guaranteed in this league. People are. I know J.J. Watt's going to be broadcasting a game along with Iron Eagle on Sunday. His brother's going to be performing. Look, how can I say this? I think we need to calm down on we're going to tank this year. And
Yep.
I don't understand why people want to root for a tank or expecting a tank. Look, I get Justin Fields hasn't had a whole lot of success in the NFL, but I think, I don't think he really, and I've said this before on my channel, I don't think he's really been put in the best position to be successful in terms of talent around him and coaching. And
Oh, certainly.
hopefully, this is to me where I'm not saying Aaron Glenn's been acting all cocky and everything, but this is the proof is in the pudding.
Yep.
Is where Aaron Glenn proves that he's the head coach of the Jets. Because the one thing that we all hated about Saul is that he couldn't handle the pressure and he couldn't handle adversity. And he only liked it when things went good. That's not head coach material. No, Aaron Glenn, people forgot that Aaron Glenn, when he was drafted by the Jets, he was drafted during a time when the Jets were a bad football team. And then when Bill Parcells came around, he brought a winning culture to the franchise. So Aaron Glenn knows what it's like to suck, and he knows what it's like to be good. So I don't think, and I think, I think he kind of feels that even though he wasn't the sole purpose why we didn't win the championship in '98, granted, I wasn't a Jets fan back that point, even though I was 4 years old at that time. I think he kind of feels, I owe this fan base something. I think he's kind of has that baggage, that monkey on his back that he felt, I had unfinished business because, that 98 year in some ways was kind of magical. So let's see what the hell happens, man. I mean, look, Aaron Glenn to me has the makings of a good quality head coach. Darren Muji has, I felt, been more proactive than reactive. I would like for them at some point before the end of the trade deadline, to trade for a wide receiver like Jacoby Myers of the Raiders. He's a very good wide receiver too. I like him a lot. He's very good. As we definitely need quality wide receivers because Alan Lazard stinks. Josh Reynolds is good, but he hasn't had a whole lot of success as a starter in this league. Arian Smith's a rookie. Xavier Gibson is, man, the only really good wide receiver we have is, Garrett Wilson.
Most definitely. For
Huh?
sure. I said, yeah, for sure. 1,000%. And Jacoby Myers, they said they're not going to trade him today. I've been in the vote where I don't think they need to trade for a wide receiver as much as most people think. I'll break it down for you, Charles, here. But nevertheless, thank you for calling in, my friend.
No problem, man. Have a good day.
You too. Charles, the reason I say that and what I predicate that on, you guys have heard it, I don't think there are enough targets. I don't think that Justin Fields is going to throw enough passes to make it make sense for the Jets to give up and allocate assets to acquire a premier wide receiver like Jacoby Myers. Because not only would you have to pay him a lucrative, and he deserves it, he's a good player. Not only would you have to pay him a lucrative contract this coming off season, but you'd have to give up a third or whatever round pick it would be to land a player of his caliber. And I don't think Fields' pocket passing presence and ability, the fact that he's not going to throw the ball that much, bottom line, it doesn't make sense for the Jets to add another wide receiver. It does not make sense for me. Does it make sense for you guys? I want to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you for joining us here on NY Flight Jets Talk. Quick 30-minute show. Of course, we are back tomorrow. So stay tuned for tomorrow's show. You guys got any final thoughts you want to throw into the comments, throw into the chat? Get them in now because we're going to wrap up. Should have a guest on tomorrow's show. I will let you know then Friday, Saturday. Should have regular scheduled programming. So stay tuned for that, folks. Make sure you like and subscribe because that is the free way to help support what we are doing right here on the show. We are at 2,081 subs currently. Let's get to 3,000. 3,000. Let's get to 3,000 by the end of the season, of course. Keep it and subscribe. But let's get to 2,100 by tomorrow, by Sunday's game. Let's do that. Let's get to 2,100 subscribers by Sunday's game. And you guys can get on the journey, help us out by smashing that like button and hitting subscribe. See it? Boom. Hit the like. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. You guys are the best, folks. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to all you incredible Jet fans out there right here on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in right here on this Wednesday evening. I'm your host, Connor Long, right here on NY Flight Jets Talk, saying have a great evening, everyone. And as always, JTS, baby. Jets, Jets, Jets. Peace out.